Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So today we're tackling something that literally every single one of us faces, but let's be honest, very few of us actually master. I'm talking about the art of turning adversity into a massive advantage. We're going to explore how one guy took arguably the absolute worst hand life could deal him and just completely reframed it to build an unbreakable mindset. I want to start by asking you a really direct question. What do you do when you hit an unbreakable wall in life? Because we all hit them, right? Maybe it's a massive career setback, a sudden financial crisis, a tough health issue, or just a deeply personal loss. In those moments, it feels like all your forward momentum just violently crashes to a halt. So, what happens next? Do you freeze? Do you retreat? Or do you find some way to break through? Keep that in the back of your mind as we go, because the person we're looking at today didn't just hit one wall. No, he ran into a literal maze of them, over and over again. And yet, he somehow found a way to completely shatter them. Okay, let's dive into this. Meet our main case study for this explainer, Saburo Yoshikawa. As our source material outlines, Saburo lived what the author describes as a life of stormy seas. I mean, he absolutely wasn't born into privilege. No head starts here. Actually, his life was basically a masterclass in navigating extreme, relentless adversity. Through the author's reflections on his father's life, we get this incredible roadmap showing how raw, unfiltered hardship can be processed and used. Saburo's story isn't some depressing tragedy, it's a blueprint. To really get inside Saburo's mindset, we have to look at the sheer scale of the hurdles he faced. The text groups his struggles into three massive trials: poverty, illness, and conflict. And look, these weren't just passing phases. They were the foundation of his everyday life. When Saburo was just 7 years old, he lost his father. 7. He grew up in a single-mother household with 3 siblings, where just surviving the day was a grueling challenge. From a super young age, he was thrust into this harsh world, shouldering adult responsibilities, taking care of his younger siblings, all while navigating extreme scarcity. And this brilliantly illustrates the scale of his determination. 20. In a desperate bid to feed his family, Saburo worked over 20 different kinds of jobs. He didn't have the luxury of career planning or, holding out for that perfect opportunity. He just did whatever it took. If a trade could provide even a tiny bit of money to keep his family afloat, he took it. He adapted, he pivoted, and he absolutely ground his way through unimaginable economic pressure. But here is where his story takes a super fascinating turn. We see this crazy contrast, from the harsh reality of pulling a heavy vegetable handcart on the street to this incredibly sharp intellectual fight. Because despite the poverty, and despite a body that was really weakened by severe illness in his youth, Saburo possessed this fierce, restless energy. By his 20s, he wasn't just surviving anymore. He was fighting back. He became a political activist and a chief editorial writer for a magazine. He used his writing to fiercely attack political corruption, dedicating himself to exposing a corrupt governor. He fought for everyday people who were being exploited, famously declaring that those in power must never be allowed to steal food from the mouths of ordinary citizens. Which brings us to the central metaphor of this whole explainer. The standard view tells us that hardship is a reason to give up, right? To get bitter, to just accept defeat. But Saburo's view, which is captured beautifully by his son, is that hardship is actually nourishment for the soul. Think about that. Every trial, every failure, every bit of suffering wasn't a punishment at all. It was fertilizer. It was the exact material needed to grow this massive, robust character. Now, what's really interesting about this is the specific phrasing used in the original Japanese text, tamashi no koyashi, nourishment, or literally fertilizer for the soul. The author specifically points out that watching his father navigate all that poverty, illness, and conflict became this exact nourishment. It shows us that our struggles literally forge our character. You don't build a strong mind in a comfortable vacuum. You build it by absorbing life's shocks and metabolizing those terrible experiences into wisdom, empathy, and just unyielding grit. So, the crucial point is how to actually implement this. The source material distills Saburo's mindset down to a specific concept: resilience, or in Japanese, fukugen ryoku. It translates to the capacity to restore yourself, but it's defined in a really actionable way here. It's not just surviving a hit. It's the speed and capacity to bounce back after you get knocked down, insulted, or defeated. True resilience is an active, dynamic, rapid recovery process. It's that internal muscle that pulls you back to your feet when absolutely everything else is screaming at you to stay down. Let's break down this process of dealing with failure, because it's essentially a logical three-step mechanic. Step 1, you face the wall. You don't ignore the reality of the problem. Step 2, you take the hit. As the text points out, everyone fails. Everyone gets knocked down. It even mentions the Japanese proverb, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. You are going to take hits. But step 3 is where the magic actually happens. You bounce back immediately. You don't wallow, you don't let the defeat become your whole identity, you just reset and recover fast.
I absolutely love this next detail from the text. Saburo's coworkers actually gave him a nickname because of this exact trait. They compared his baffling, unbreakable spirit to an okiagari koboshi, which is a traditional Japanese roly-poly toy. They'd say, "It's amazing. No matter how much we knock him down or scold him, he just bounces right back up." It's a slightly humorous little anecdote, but it hits the nail on the head. He might have looked deflated for a split second, but almost instantly his innate vitality would just pop him right back up. He was structurally designed internally to stand back up.
If there is one core takeaway you grab from this explainer, make it this. The true measure of strength isn't avoiding the fall, it's the speed of your recovery. Developing this rapid Fukuken Roku is the ultimate key to living strongly. It means giving up on the obsessive attempt to prevent every single mistake. Instead, you build the internal machinery that lets you recover so fast that a fall is nothing more than a tiny blip on your overall upward trajectory. Let's see how this builds. Because this lifelong vitality didn't just end with his own survival. Saburo's unbelievable ability to act with courage, completely without fearing failure, directly inspired the author's later works, specifically a book titled The Law of Courage. Saburo had this frail body from his early illnesses, but his mind was so powerful he would literally will himself into action. He never waited for perfect conditions. He just manufactured his own momentum through sheer courageous action. And this is the high-energy call to action that we get from this entire philosophy. Have the courage to act without fearing failure, to break through life's walls. Once you truly realize that failure is just nourishment for your soul, when you know you have the resilience to act like that roly-poly toy and just bounce back, the fear of failure completely evaporates. You are suddenly totally free to take risks, to speak your mind, start the business, or fight the good fight. Because you know for a fact that even if you hit a wall, you're going to break right through it. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. We all know another wall is coming, right? It's just an inevitable part of living a full life. So the question is no longer, will I hit a wall? The real question, the one Ryuho Okawa answered every single day of his life, is when your next wall appears, how quickly will you bounce back? Will you stay down, or will you use it as fertilizer to grow even stronger? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.